Hello, Lotus chat listeners. I'm Laura Benson at Mammoth Edge Coaching, and I am here tonight with Zian. Hi, Zian.
Hi, everyone. Hello, Laura.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Zian. Thank you for joining me tonight, or me joining you. And tonight we have a really interesting topic. We're taking some of our life subjects that we talk about, and we're kind of attaching it to a classic book that talks about deep principles of life. And that book is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And for those of you that haven't read it or even haven't heard of it, don't be embarrassed, but I will tell you that it is a pretty popular classic book. And I have to admit to you, Zian, as I was reading it this week, it was pretty deep.
Yes, it is.
But the thing, there it is, there's Zian's copy, mine's the hardbound. Anyway, so what I learned, Zian, this week is, as we all have perceptions of life and the things that happen in our life, for me, this book gave me a different way of seeing things. Instead of seeing it through the historical lenses of my experiences, it gave me kind of more of a global look at it. Topics such as love, giving, friendship, all the things that affect us in our everyday life, but in looking at it in a different way. So, Zian, if it's okay with you tonight, I don't want us to do a book report. I just really want us to talk about the topics and what we got from each of the topics. So would you do us the honor and give us the first topic that you read and how it changed your perspective?
Of course. Thank you so much, Laura. I love Khalil Gibran's work. I was introduced to him through ETA a couple of years ago. And one of my favorite poems that he wrote, he has so much gems and wisdom, but the one that I really liked was the one that he wrote about friendship. And specifically, I wanted to read out this excerpt that he wrote, regarding friends. Seek him always with hours to live, for it is his to fill your need, but not your emptiness. And when I read that, I kind of ponder a little bit like the difference between need and emptiness. And it's such a fine line because it's true when I reflect back on my own friendship, I go to friends because I crave a need, like a need to connect, a need for someone to understand what I'm saying, a need for someone to get me. But yet, a friendship that really lasts very long, they cannot feel that emptiness. They can only feel that need that I want at that moment. Because I also recall friendships that do not last. It's because perhaps there were expectations, or perhaps, one were taking too much and, not giving back in return. And it's a very fine line, when it comes to friendship. So I love the way Gibran puts it in that way that, a friend is someone that fills your need, but not your emptiness.
Wow, that is powerful. I hadn't thought of it that way in that depth. But so many times people come to us for a season because we have different needs. And yet we have expectations of them, like you said, and then the expectations aren't met. And then in our normal world, we say, well, they just didn't meet my needs. But really, we had emptiness that we needed filled. And we can only do that in ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you.
What about yours, Laura?
Well, there were a lot of them. As Zian knows, I had a hard time limiting mine. I was going to go on for 5 hours tonight, but Zian said it wouldn't be a good idea. So my first one is giving. Giving is such a big topic, but I always think of material giving when I think of it. I'm not a really good gift giver. It's just not my way. I tend to give more of myself or more of my time because if you've read the 5 love languages, my biggest one is time. So when someone gives me their time, that to me shows love more than if they gave me a gift. And so I tend to be that kind of a person as well. I don't give people big, huge gifts. I give them my time because that means so much to me. But Gabral, thank goodness, he agrees with me. And he says, it is when you give yourself that you truly give. When you give something of yourself and you're not holding back, or you're not,
Yes.
you said it in friendship, when you're not expecting an end result, or you're not saying, I want them to do this for me. It's completely just giving of ourselves. The other thing is the most powerful giving is when those who have little give it all. There's an old Bible story about somebody that had nothing, but they gave it, and then they were blessed and blessings multiplied. And I always thought, you know, how powerful that someone who has nothing, because we tend to hold on to things. I know that when money is tight, I tend to hold on to it because I don't know when but this is saying you give freely and you just give abundantly. It's really not about the money. It's about the act of giving and the act of letting go. The other thing that hit me was, he said, many of us say, I would give, but only to people who deserve it. And I'm guilty of that, because we always want our giving to go somewhere worthy. But he says, do the trees in the field say, I'm only going to show my leaves to the deserving? Or the flocks of the field in the pasture say, I'm just going to show my wings and to the deserving? No, they show their beauty and they give of their beauty freely to anybody. And the last thing that was powerful to me is, it is well to give when asked, but it is much better to give unasked, because that means you are understanding someone's need without having to be asked. It's very hard to ask for help. It's very hard to ask for someone to give of themselves to you when you need it. But a powerful person says, I'm going to give to that person because I know they need it, and I'm not going to be asked. It doesn't necessarily mean money. It can be your time. It can be your support. It can be your words. It can be a gift of service. I have been reading a lot. I live in an area where there's a lot of snow right now because of the winter storms. People who are going to help older people who can't shovel their driveway, and they're shoveling all the snow out of their driveway. You know, that's hard work, and yet they're giving that because they're giving of their time, and that's their act of service. So as you can see, this one kind of really spoke to me, and it made me think about giving rather than just writing a check and being done with it. What can I give that of myself? Because when you give, it's powerful.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so lovely, Laura.
Thank you. Okay, what's your next one, Zian? I can't wait to hear it.
Well, my next one is when you wrote about pain. And specifically, he said this, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. That one line to me was so powerful, because as I recall my own pain, I mean, everyone lives through a certain understanding or worldview, and we operate in such a way throughout many, many years in our lives. And it's only when we are at the point of discomfort, which is pain and, huge amount of discomfort, that's when we can break that shell of understanding, my understanding of marriage, my understanding of how things should work a certain way and things should not work a certain way. So it totally, like that pain when I was going through my relationship, my marriage, it really broke through a lot of that shell of my comfort and the shell of my understanding. So that just this one line when he wrote that, it was like really powerful for me.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Zian. Thank you.
What's your next one, Laura?
Well, the listeners probably don't know this, but I am what you would call in the United States a clothes horse, meaning there isn't a piece of clothing that I don't own or want because I love fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so because of that, I have this real strange perception with clothes. I'm always looking at what do I want, how would I look, and I envision myself what I would wear and how it would look. And I have a very large closet, unfortunately. I'm glad the listeners can't see it. But anyway, this whole chapter is on clothes. And as you can imagine, it isn't about how to find the best sales at Nordstrom's. It's not about what fits best with your body type. It talks about how garments conceal the real us and how if clothes are so important, what are we trying to hide? And he talks about you can't feel life when you're wrapped up in something that's a barrier. So hang with me, listeners. This doesn't mean we're all going to go naked everywhere. But what he's talking about is when we're so in ownership of the clothes, when it's all about the fashion and hoping someone will notice and hoping someone will be impressed. What we're really doing is we're hiding the part inside of us that we don't want people to see. We want them to see the clothes. We don't want to see them to see the real us. We're trying to hide something that we are ashamed of or that we aren't okay with. And so we don't want someone to see it and feel vulnerable. He also talks about, he also talks about modesty. How some people, will wear clothes so much, have so many clothes on because they don't want someone to see their body. And he talks about, he certainly, once again, he's not talking about going naked, but why are we feeling embarrassed of our body? What is it that we don't want people to see? And it just really hit me hard because I love to have a new outfit. I love for people to see it. I love people to comment on it. But am I really trying to hide something inside that I don't want to feel vulnerable or I don't want people to see? And it was a kind of a different perception on clothing for me than I had ever had. And he says, when you let go of the garments, when you let go of wearing so much, then you can feel nature, then you can feel at your authentic self. And so it's that act of saying, instead of trying to hide and cover myself, how can I feel authentic and share that authenticity? So that's a real powerful discussion that he has in the chapter. Something I haven't ever thought of. So I hope the listeners, if you decide to get the book, you'll see it as well.
Wow. It's amazing that he even has a section on clothes.
I know. I'm like,
so many aspects of life, and he chose that.
I know. I thought, ooh, he's really touching on something here, Why don't you go talk about time or love or something, but
yeah.
What's your next one, Zian?
So mine will be, the next one will be on marriage. And I like the way he words this, which is, but let there be spaces in your togetherness and let the winds of the heavens dance between you. Love one another, but make not a bond of love, and fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. And the reason why I love this, and I'm trying to view marriage differently. After the pain, the marriage was definitely different. And I have to say, my previous understanding of marriage, or what it was we were always drinking from the same cup, referring back to this one. Yep. And there were probably spaces, but not much. And, it's always like, two become one kind of concept, but not much wind in between the heavens dancing. But when I read this, I think what he described about marriage is true. It's just two individuals coming together, but we are very, very different beings. And so let there be spaces for each other to grow, for each other to explore on their own desires and pleasures and ambitions, and fill each other's cup by, having time to connect, to talk about it, to inspire each other's cup, but not really drinking from the same one, because we are essentially two different persons. So I love the way he puts this in terms of marriage. And
I do too. I love that, because we always think you got to become one person, but you're not. You're
but it's
two
not.
different people.
Yeah, and it's when it's two together, one becomes suffocated.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Zian.
Yeah. What about yours, Laura?
My last one is time. It is amazing because I had a conversation with my son this week about life and seasons of life. And Gibran talks about measuring time. And I have to tell you, I'm a clock watcher. I'm like, okay, right now we're going here, next hour we're going here. Everything's on a schedule. So I was telling my son that I used to think life was one long novel. Everyone stayed in the novel. You know how you read a novel and the same players are with you through the whole novel. That's really not life. Life is in seasons. It's in time. It's past, present, and future, but there really are seasons. And the whole thing that overarches the seasons is our life. Yesterday is but today's memory, and tomorrow is today's dream. And I thought memories and dreams are, and we long for, I remember when I was younger, I would just dreamed for time to pass. Oh, I want to go to college. Oh, I want to graduate. Oh, I want to get married. Oh, I want to have kids. I want to have a great career. I mean, the whole thing was just trying to wait for some next step until you wake up one day and say, I've made every step, what's left? And that's what he's trying to say, is instead of looking at your life as one long novel of trying to get through it, look at it as enjoying parts of it. And he says, let today's embrace of the past with remembrance and the future with longing. I'm really fascinated by that, because so many times we live with regret of the past and we're trying to undo it and redo it. You can't do it, but you look at it with remembrance, looking at the good times instead of the bad times. I'm learning that too, and enjoying the whole relationship rather than be upset at the part that didn't work out, looking at the whole relationship. And then looking at whatever future is with longing, no matter what it is, being excited about it and ready to start whatever that new adventure is. So what I learned from him on time is we're not doing a long novel where we have a happily ever after. We're in seasons of time that contribute to our whole life.
Wow. Yeah, wow, I love that, Laura. And even when the two words that he used, memories and dreams, already implies time. And that is so powerful.
It is, DM.
Yeah. So for listeners out there who is intrigued, I really encourage you to check out this book, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. I think he puts it really well, very short and succinct in each chapter that he, I'm sure, deliberately chose to talk about. And that covers a lot of multiple aspects of life. But I think what really a common theme that he have in this book is that he stresses on working on the inner being, working on yourself, and that things are not from external, but actually everything starts from us, and really focusing on our being. So if you like what
that is powerful, Deanne. He does focus on the inner being. It's never about what someone did to us. It's about how we view ourselves. So thank you.
Yeah. And so if you like what we have spoke about today, I encourage you to click like, subscribe, and follow both in our YouTube and Spotify channels. And next chapter, we will be talking about Michael Singer's Untitled Soul. And that's one of our favorite book. Well, I just recently discovered him. So my new favorite author. And yes, that's about it from us. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you and Laura next 2 weeks.
Week.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.